in today's class I went over something with a student that I think you might find beneficial as well if you're starting out in animation learning or just towards the start of your journey. This is something you may not be considering at the moment, but basically what it is this. This character that we have here on the screen is, my notes gave everything away, is drunk, right? She's drunk. So something you can see in this picture is she doesn't really look drunk. So there's two things. When you're blocking, it's not super important, but if your character's angry, right, just give her angry brows just so we can feel the emotion that you're going for. It just helps sell the performance. So for example, this one can be, you know, lazy-eyed, is drunk, you know. Sort of thing, don't know. But then one of the main point that I wanted to say is her body language, right? So she's leaning back like a drunk person, that's all sweet, but she's using a lot of muscles, right? So think of this, if you're drunk, you're not going to have this kind of grip on whatever you're holding, and you're not going to have the strength to hold your arm out here, right? So basically, you gotta remember your character's states. So if they're a big, strong character in general, muscly, right? They're gonna be able to hold their arm out quite easily, right? But it actually uses a lot of shoulder muscle to hold your arm up, and it's super annoying, especially if you go out sideways. It's really hard to hold any sort of weight. So for example, if you lift up like a big heavy object just fully sideways, it may look a little bit off because naturally that's hard for us to do. So because she's drunk, I said this arm is not going to be tight. She's going to be loose. She's going to be loose, right? This arm's going to be down and floppy, right? The hand is going to be floppy. She's going to barely be holding on to this chip packet, which is what that is, right? Put the chips in. Give her the bag. Right, so now she's looking a bit more drunk. But the second thing is this arm, like we said, is going to be too high. It's going to be too hard to do this. So arm's going to be down, you know, her shoulders are not going to be straight, down, and then like this, right? She can just have her hand up here looking at the food. Now the second thing is, if you're drunk, you're probably not going to be eating like you would normally, okay? So here you see he's got a chip, and he's used kind of like his fingers as if we would if we're sober, let's say. We'll grab a chip. But a drunk person and a drunk hungry person is probably going to grab a handful and just be a bit silly and just shove it in their mouth. And in animation, this is where you can have a bit more fun anyway, rather than like keeping it a bit too contained. So I also suggested just grab a handful, right, with a huge amount of chips. And then this can be the first pose, right? You've got a nice S-curve in it. She looks a bit more drunk and she's a bit more relaxed. And basically, if you're drunk, you need to be loose, but she looks very tight. So it's something that's not really considered in the pose, in this pose at all. So what I suggest when you're animating, really understand how your character is feeling, not just thinking like what they're going to say, but if they're drunk, their muscles have to be relaxed, for example. If they're scared, their muscles might be tight, and all this sort of junk. So the next thing is, if we scrub, she goes down and then eats it. It's kind of like elegant, sort of, not overly, but it's still kind of normal. And then also she's going down really far, so as you can see that's a massive gap, and then going to her mouth. So it's very animated, it's very deliberate, it's very, you know, unnatural. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do this in human form, in our everyday actions. So I suggest, you know, just have this pose close to the mouth, and then, whoop, where is it? And then just shove it in the mouth. Just, you know, shove it, slap her hand on the face, puff the cheeks out, enjoy that bite, and just stay where you are. So you just see like, blah, 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 you know, and then I won't go through the whole class and give you all the notes I got, but basically I just want you to understand that if your character is drunk, then you've got to think of everything that's going to make her drunk. So the way they hold the chips, the way they eat the chips, the way their body works. You really got to embody that character of being drunk. So it's not about just being wobbly, it's about understanding why they're wobbly. They're wobbly because their muscles are relaxed and their brain and their muscles connection is a little bit slower. So that also being said, that the way she reacts has to be slower. She can't just react when something happens, you have to delay it. So there are all these sorts of things that you have to consider when you're animating. And if you weren't considering that already, I hope you will now. And if you were, then good job, keep going, keep rocking and rolling, and happy animating.